Most people start a business before they decide how it makes money. That is not a small mistake. It is the mistake that kills more companies than bad products, bad timing, or bad luck combined. Your business model is not your product. It is not your mission statement. It is the specific mechanism by which money moves from a customer's pocket into yours. Get that mechanism wrong, and nothing else you do will save you. This video gives you every major business model, what it is, how it works, which companies have built billions on it, and when it is the wrong choice. By the end of the next 14 minutes, you will know exactly which model fits what you are trying to build, and why most founders choose the wrong one. Every business model answers one question, not who your customer is, not what problem you solve, one question only. How do you get paid? The answer to that question determines your cash flow, your cost structure, your relationship with customers, and whether investors will fund you or pass. It is the most important architectural decision you will make before you write a single line of code or hire a single person. There are 8 models that matter, 8 ways the most valuable companies in the world get paid. Every business you have ever used fits into one of them. The first is the subscription model. You charge customers a recurring fee, monthly or annually, for ongoing access to your product or service. They pay continuously. You earn continuously. The math is simple and the compounding is powerful. Netflix charges you every month whether you watch 1 episode or 50. Spotify charges you whether you discover 10 new artists or none. The fee is the same. Your usage is irrelevant to their revenue. The subscription economy is currently valued at $557 billion globally and is projected to reach over $1 trillion by 2030. OpenAI crossed $12 billion in annual recurring revenue by July 2025, growing from zero to that number in under 3 years. That is what a well-executed subscription model does at scale. The reason investors love subscriptions is predictability. You can model next month's revenue before the month begins. You can calculate customer lifetime value with reasonable accuracy. You know when to hire, when to expand, and when to pull back because the revenue signal is clear. Subscription businesses also grew their stock value at 17.5% annually over the past decade, compared to 3.8% for the S&P 500. That 4.6 times outperformance is not an accident. It is the compounding of predictable revenue applied consistently over time. The risk is churn. Every subscriber who cancels is revenue you have to replace before you can grow. The best subscription businesses obsess over retention because losing a customer costs more than acquiring a new one. If your product does not deliver ongoing value, something new, something better, something the customer needs again, they cancel. And in a subscription business, cancellation is not a one-time loss. It is the loss of every future payment they would ever have made. The second is the SaaS model, software as a service. SaaS is a form of subscription, but it deserves its own entry because the economics are different. You are selling software delivered over the internet, billed on a recurring basis, typically to businesses rather than consumers. Salesforce, HubSpot, Slack, Notion, every tool your company uses that lives in a browser tab and charges you monthly. That is SaaS. What makes SaaS extraordinary is the margin profile. Once the software is built, the cost of serving one additional customer is nearly zero. You do not manufacture anything. You do not ship anything. You update the product once, and every customer gets the improvement simultaneously. This is why SaaS companies can reach 60, 70, 80% gross margins, numbers that are impossible in physical product businesses. The challenge is the sales cycle. Enterprise SaaS, selling to large companies, can take 6 to 18 months to close a single contract. You are spending money on sales and marketing for over a year before you see $1 of revenue. This is why SaaS companies raise so much venture capital. They are funding the gap between selling and getting paid. The third is the marketplace model. You do not own the product. You do not deliver the service. You create the platform where buyers and sellers meet, and you take a cut of every transaction that happens on it. Airbnb owns no hotels. Uber owns no cars. Etsy manufactures nothing. They built the infrastructure that connects supply with demand, and they earn a percentage of every exchange. Airbnb takes roughly 3% from the host and up to 14.2% from the guest on every booking, without owning a single room. The marketplace model is the hardest to start and the most powerful once it works. The difficulty is the cold start problem. You need buyers to attract sellers and sellers to attract buyers. Neither will show up first. Getting over that initial friction requires creative thinking, subsidization, or a captive supply source that does not require the marketplace to exist yet. Once you solve the cold start problem, marketplaces become almost impossible to displace. The more buyers on the platform, the more attractive it is to sellers. The more sellers, the more attractive it is to buyers. This self-reinforcing cycle, called a network effect, is why marketplace businesses are worth multiples of what traditional businesses are worth at the same revenue level. When a marketplace reaches critical mass, the network itself becomes the moat. A competitor cannot simply copy the platform. They have to convince an entire ecosystem of buyers and sellers to abandon the place they already trust and start again somewhere new. Almost nobody does that voluntarily. This is why Airbnb, eBay, and Uber have remained dominant despite years of well-funded competition. The network is the product, and you cannot replicate a network by copying the technology that runs it. The fourth is the freemium model. You give a version of the product away for free. You charge for a better version. The free tier is not a loss. It is your marketing channel. Spotify gives you music with ads. Pay for premium and the ads disappear, the downloads unlock, the quality improves. Dropbox gives you 2 gigabytes free. Need more storage? Pay. LinkedIn gives you a professional profile. Want to see who viewed it, message strangers, or appear higher in search results? Pay. The freemium model works when the free tier is genuinely useful enough to create a habit, but limited enough to make the upgrade feel obvious. The conversion rate from free to paid in most freemium businesses sits between 2 and 5%. That means 95 to 98% of your users never pay you a single dollar. The model works because the ones who do pay subsidize everyone else. And the free users are not wasted. They create word-of-mouth, network density, and data that makes the product better for paying customers. Every free Spotify user who convinces a friend to sign up is doing marketing you did not pay for. Every free Dropbox user who shares a folder with a colleague is a sales call you did not have to make. The trap is building a free tier that is so good nobody upgrades. If you give everything away, you have built a charity, not a business. The fifth is the direct sales model. You make something, you sell it, the customer pays once, the transaction is complete. Apple sells you an iPhone, you pay, the sale is done. They do not earn ongoing revenue from that specific transaction, though they are aggressively building subscription layers on top of hardware sales to change this. Direct sales is the oldest business model in existence and the one most people default to without thinking. The problem is that it requires constant new customers. Every month you start at zero revenue and you have to sell your way back to last month's number before you can grow beyond it. There is no compounding, there is no predictable base, just the pressure of perpetual acquisition. The direct sales model works when the purchase price is high enough to justify the acquisition cost, when customers return naturally without needing to be resold, or when the product creates strong enough word of mouth that acquisition costs stay low. Without one of those three conditions, direct sales businesses grind. The sixth is the advertising model. Your product is free. Your users are the product. The people who pay you are not your users. They are the companies that want access to your users' attention. Google is free to use. Facebook is free to use. TikTok is free to use. The revenue comes from advertisers who pay for the right to show messages to the people using the platform. Google generated $234 billion in advertising revenue in 2024. The users paid nothing. Advertisers paid everything. The advertising model requires one thing above all others: scale. You need enough users, generating enough data, spending enough time on the platform that advertisers will pay to reach them. A platform with 10,000 users cannot sell meaningful advertising. A platform with 10 million users can. The economics do not become attractive until the numbers are large. This creates a brutal early-stage reality. You are building a product that generates zero revenue until it reaches a threshold most companies never reach. You are spending money on servers, engineers, and growth with nothing coming back in until the scale arrives. This is why advertising model businesses raise enormous amounts of capital before they earn a dollar. They are buying users and time before the scale threshold that makes advertising viable. The seventh is the franchise model. You build a proven system for running a business. Then you license that system to other people who pay you to use it. They do the work. You collect the fee. McDonald's is the canonical example. McDonald's does not primarily make money selling hamburgers. It makes money licensing its brand, its system, its supply chain, and its real estate to franchisees who pay an initial fee of between $1 and $2 million, plus an ongoing royalty of around 5% of monthly sales. McDonald's earns whether the location has a good month or a bad one. The risk of operations sits with the franchisee. The reward of the system sits with McDonald's. Franchising is one of the most capital-efficient business models ever designed. You expand using other people's money and other people's labor while retaining ownership of the thing that makes it all work, the brand and the system. The eighth is the licensing model. You own something, a patent, a piece of intellectual property, a brand, a technology, and you charge other people to use it. Qualcomm makes the chips inside almost every smartphone in the world, but it also earns licensing fees from every phone manufacturer that uses its wireless technology patents, including phones that do not contain a single Qualcomm chip. ARM Holdings designs processor architectures and licenses the designs to Apple, Samsung, and dozens of other manufacturers. ARM earns a royalty on every chip made using its designs, without manufacturing a single one itself. Licensing is the purest expression of owning something others need. The margins are extraordinary because the marginal cost of licensing is essentially zero. The challenge is that you first have to build or own something worth licensing, which typically requires years of investment before the revenue begins. But once you have it, the licensing model produces revenue at a scale and margin that almost no other model can match. Here is the insight that most founders miss. The best companies in the world do not pick one model and stay there forever. They start with one model that gets them to customers, and they layer additional models on top as they earn the right to do so. Apple started with direct sales. It layered in the App Store, a marketplace model, then subscriptions with Apple Music and Apple TV, now advertising through the App Store search ads. Amazon started as direct retail. It added marketplace, then subscriptions with Prime, then advertising, then SaaS with AWS. Today, AWS alone generates more operating profit than Amazon's entire retail operation. That business did not exist when Amazon launched. It was built on top of infrastructure Amazon needed for itself. The model you launch with is not your final model. It is the model that gets you to the scale where the next model becomes possible. The question is not which model is best. The question is which model gives you the fastest path to your first 10 customers, and whether the economics of that model can support a business at the scale you are trying to reach. Pick the wrong model for your stage and you will spend money you do not have, building an audience that will never pay you. Pick the right model and the business has a logic to it, a pull, where every customer and every dollar of revenue compounds into the next. Before you commit to a model, ask yourself 3 questions. First, does this model match how my customer naturally wants to pay? Second, can the unit economics support a business at the scale I am targeting? Third, which model gets me to my first 10 customers fastest? The model is not the business, but without the right model, the business does not work. That is every business model explained in 15 minutes.